Hey everybody, this is Josh Cook, aka Seizures Palace, and today we have reached the 6-month mark, which is week 26. We're keeping it going. We're doing some songs every week, and this week I have something special for you guys. What I'm going to be showing you is something that I've been working on for the last year. That being said, I've taken about the last 6 months off of working on it, so it has been in the works for a while. I've been just barely here and there touching up the mix, but anyway, let's get into it. I was really inspired one day when I saw this short cartoon by Walt Disney and Salvador Dali. Loved the cartoon. I thought it had some super artistic aspects. The cartoon animation was fantastic. It had this kind of trippy, so I don't know, I guess that's a Salvador Dali thing where it's like an acid trip or something going on in a cartoon. So anyway, just had some interesting elements that I thought would overlap well with electronic music, just kind of that hypnotic sort of vibe of electronic music. And I really wasn't the biggest fan of the original music, but I'm biased. I'm not a big fan of music from I guess it was the 30s or 40s, really crooner, creepy old recording, cool song. But I thought that the cartoon was better than the music, dare I say. So I'm not saying that the music that I've now done for it is up to snuff, but I prefer it more, and maybe you guys will too. So I cannot show you the video until I have any permission from Disney. Whether or not that happens, I don't know. But I'm still going to show you guys the song. You could probably hit play on this at the exact same time as the cartoon, and I'm going to try to find you guys a link where that works out, where there's the appropriate amount of black space at the beginning and all that stuff. So check out the description below. Yeah, I don't know. I really do want to show this to the world, but I don't want to have Disney coming after me legally, and I mean, they're someone that you want to stay on their good side with, I'd imagine. So anyway, let's get into it. So there's going to be a lot of unexplained elements within this song. And quite frankly, I'm surprised that I'm able to do this video recording while it's going, because it's a beast of a song. There's a lot going on in this. Some of these are even collapsed. There's a few more synths there. So there's a lot going on in this song. Tons of animation. Tons of, automation, tons of instruments in general. There's a lot going on. So I want to take you guys through that, and I can explain some of the weird elements, what certain synthesizers represent within the video and that kind of stuff. What I'm afraid of is that people are going to try to hit play on this and play on the cartoon, and I've spent so much time lining everything up. So there's a lot of stuff that really lines up well with the cartoon, and you might not get that if you try to do it on your own. So I'm really trying my best to make sure that I can work things out with Disney, so that way maybe I can show this legally, not make any money. I'm not into it for the money. If anything, most people don't even know about this cartoon. I want to show people this cartoon, how great it is, promote Disney, and just kind of show an alternate version of what the music could have been. Just something a little different. I'm not into it for the money, not into it for the exposure necessarily. It's just, I really was inspired, so I wrote this. Anyway, so let's get into it. It starts off with this sort of signature of Salvador Dali and Walt Disney, and everything's kind of just settling in, and as soon as the image of these mountains in the background settle in, dun, 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 there's going to be a synth that hits right at that moment. So that's a good way for you to tell right off the bat if things are queued up properly on your end. Let's listen to that. So at this point, the woman is walking forward. Her elements slowly being unfiltered. There's a lot of time references in this, tons of clocks and stuff, so I use the clock. That little chime you just heard represents the bird that you're going to see throughout the video. So at this point, there's a triangle being squashed into somebody. That happens again later, right at the very end, when it's a person getting squashed into a person. And a little flame chases the woman. And at this point, boom, a moon pops up. There's another good cue point for you. That little filter there represents some butterflies that you're going to see come out of, I guess, a corpse or some weird person. Represents, it's like a really big sound, so you get to kind of see this spiraling mountain that's happening at this point. It's kind of just like a more grandiose sort of aspect of everything. And then she starts dancing at that point. I just realized my shirt looks really trippy. I wonder if it's going to look like that in the final recording. Who knows? The video so bad. I could just click it right into place. You would see it right underneath me. So those bells that you heard, there's lots of clocks and bells, and she often has a dress and kind of looks like a bell. So the bells either represent the big bells on the church tower that you're going to see, or her, depending on what she's wearing and what the scene is. It's really cool. Like the woman with the dress, they have a shadow at one point on the ground. This is actually the area, and the head looks like the sort of top part of the bell that would be holding, and the arms are out, which looks kind of like a bar that would hold the bell, and then her dress is the bell. It's really clever, especially for when this cartoon was made. So the base there's like a little rock that falls down. You actually hear doo-doo, and the rock falls. Those little doo-doo-doo, those are the dandelions. You'll see those a few times throughout. And a little bird chirp. And then things get a little darker. So the clock is melting, so I did some interesting, grain delay, which is really great for doing repitching, but in interesting, often, for me, unexpected ways. So he just shouted out, you can hear the echo. I've taken this growl sound and I've arpeggiated it so you can hear it tightening up and getting shorter. So that's taking the gate time and automating it. And now kind of has like this rhythmic fashion. There's some French guys with baguettes on their head driving around and riding their bicycles. From what I understand, that's a very Salvador Dali thing as opposed to Disney. More dandelions. And now the chase begins. At this point, the woman and the man become kind of divided by the elements of this world that they're in, and the guy tries to chase her down, and that's kind of when it gets into this. I feel like the mix needs to be a little more intense here. At least the kick. I'm gonna go back quickly here. Okay, let's hear it. That's a little better. And then she's like shooting out birds. That's all these little sprinkly synthesizer sounds that you're hearing right now. Kind of filter as they go through a guy, and then like this face emerges. And then there's this like guy, this baseball player guy, and this like ballerina faceless dancer. So at this point, you're going to see a weird caricature of Disney and Salvador Dali start to come together. I jumped the gun a little bit with that dancer and the baseball player. So they come together, and then around now you see the dancer. That is when he hits the ball, and then if you go back, you can listen. You can hear it actually hit into the glove too. that is when it reaches into the glove. He's now crushing down the blanket and then becomes a woman and he crushes it into her. So I thought because he was crushing it, I would use some bit crushing, like 8-bit distortion. I don't know what the bit was exactly, but just reduxed it down. And now there's like this big sort of wide shot or long shot of the bell tower, and then the little dandelions come out, and there's the little bells. And then during the end credits, I kind of just replay the part where she's running up the spirally mountain was my favorite in terms of the layers within the composition. So I decided to end with a filtered version of that. And I filtered all that in the mastering, but I haven't actually done any mastering. I should just say I did that in the master channel. So you can see I have, it's 12 dB of reduction per octave, and it's at about 425 hertz. Something that I have to stress that has really helped my mixing as of recently is get this free plugin. I know I've talked about it before, but it's called the BX Solo by Brainworks. It's totally free. And why I recommend it is because it's got a really great mono and side solo switches. So if I want to listen to something in mono, I use this over the utility. I just feel like it's not I don't get as much phase cancellation, or I don't know. It's a really good quality product, so I just trust that the mono is pretty accurate. But even more than that is the side content button. But before you go and listen to your own stuff with the side content and go, okay, what am I doing here? Like, listen to 5 to 10 of your favorite songs that you love the production on, and just solo what they're doing with the side content. So some examples is like Deadmau5, for example. He actually puts a bit of, like, I'm thinking Ghosts and stuff, like a classic song by him. You can actually hear a bit of reverb from his kick in the side content. Whereas someone like Savant, who's currently like my favorite artist right now, he has no snare in the side, no bass drum in the side, plenty of clap. So I'm starting to realize, I'm like, okay, so I should be definitely going mono with my snare. If I want it to be at all in the sides, I'll use reverb or delay to get it there, but still mostly going to be mono. The kick, same idea. If I want a little bit of reverb, which can be risky, I'll put it on the side, but I'll make sure to EQ that reverb so there's not a lot of low muddiness. In side content, you generally don't want super, super low frequencies, but I think a lot of people are afraid to even go as low as like 100, 200, 300 hertz, but some content can work there. It depends. In my opinion, if it's more pad-like and soft, it can have a little bit more lows, but if it's really punchy and percussive, then I would rather keep that sort of content more towards the middle where it's safe, we'll say. So anyway, listen to 5 to 10 of your favorite artists, just listening to the side content, and see what they're doing in terms of how they're panning things wide. And you'll start to realize, like Savant, for example, his synths are clear as day in side content, and they're also really clear in the mid. So I've been making this splitter that I've been using. I'll show you guys. It's a splitter / widener, and I've put it into my user library. And what it is on the top end, it's multi-band dynamics, soloed in the high content at 400 hertz, so you're just hearing 400 hertz and above. And in the bottom content, you're just hearing 400 hertz and below, and I've taken the width down to 0. Now, sometimes I'll do that. Sometimes I will just choose the left or right side, depending on how it's collapsing as mono content, or I'll use the Brainworks BX Solo to do that mono-ness. So instead of always worrying about widening out the top end, keep in mind a lot of your synths are already going to be widened if you're using Massive, Silent, Serum, whatever. A lot, like, they want to have the appeal right off the bat when you're listening to presets. And even oftentimes when you're making your own, there's still a lot of stereo content that's happening. So instead of worrying about widening out content, or more likely high content, focus more on taking the low and even sometimes mid-low content and narrowing it. And that's going to give the illusion of the other things being much wider. And for years, I was always trying to widen things out, and I was spreading it thin, and that's exactly what I was doing. It was spreading really thin. And I realized that it was already there. It was already wide, a lot of the content. But the contrast of having everything being wide, there was no contrast. So you didn't really hear what was going on. Like, you couldn't hear that everything was wide. It just, was it mono? Was it wide? You couldn't really tell. So by making some elements really mono, and then other elements just keeping them most likely stereo, which is what they might be off the start, you're off to a really good start to have that effect or that illusion of having the music much wider. So anyway, I'm also thinking, is there anything else I did to the top? Sometimes I'll put a little bit of a Haas effect on the top. So this is a case where I did in this preset. So what I've done is I've created, just in the top part, another audio rack. So I started with a simple delay. Control G brings you to something that'll look like I guess like basically you want to make sure that this channel thing here is opened up, and then you're going to create a new chain, and then it's a clean one, right? So when you did Control G on your delay, it already sets up this delay chain. I just called it DLY for delay. Just Command R, or I guess Control R if you're on PC. And then for the clean, I just left it. So one is going to be panned all the way to the right, or at least 40 to the right, I would say. It's all at your discretion. You can go as low as 1 if you want, but normally you want to basically widen things out considerably. So I'd say maybe 30 as a minimum to really hear what's happening, and then explore if you want to go lower than that. And then for the delayed side, it's all the way wet. It's panned to the opposite side. I like to go between 16 and 30 milliseconds as a general rule. And I'll listen in mono, and I'll pan this around, or not pan it, but I'll move it around until in mono, I'm not getting a signal that's really collapsed in a bad way where you're getting phase cancellation. So you're listening in mono, and there'll be this point where you hit a certain like number of milliseconds where it just clears up and you can really hear it. And that's going to mean that it's not going to cancel in terms of phase cancellation when you listen to it in mono. So whenever I'm widening things out, I'm not actually listening in stereo often. I'm listening, how is it going to collapse when it reaches a mono mix? If someone's listening on their iPhone, or if someone's listening on a little one of these guys. I love to use these little guys. So I just got this at Shoppers Drug Mart. Nothing too fancy, like $30, and I've used it for a year, and my mono mixes have seriously benefited. Plus, it's got some cool colors normally too. You can, it goes blue, or it goes green. It changes colors. Anyway, I don't know why I'm promoting this particular one so much. There's plenty on Amazon.com.ca, that kind of stuff. But what I'm getting at here is, I kind of got off topic a little bit, I suppose. Yeah, I'm just talking about the idea of a mono mix. You want to make sure that things are really narrowing down properly into mono, and it's going to make a huge difference at the end of the day. Especially when people are listening in clubs, when there's those little one-off speakers by the bars, and they're not always listening in stereo. So yeah, I do a lot of my wide mixing in mono to make sure that it does translate back to mono, and a lot of EQing as well too, because you'll hear all the mud that's happening in mono, and you can really help. It really helps you get rid of some of that mud in between that 200, 400 hertz range. And then when I'm listening for the width, I'm not going for a big fat full mix. I'm going for like reverbs and delays. I'm going for wide organ sounds or pads and that kind of stuff. And then also, depending on the genre, I might want a lot of the leads to come out the side as well too. But you want to make sure that they're definitely in mono. So if you can translate them so they're sitting well in mono and sitting well in side content, you're good to go. So I think that's all I wanted to say about this song. I could go through and show you all the different EQing and compression and yada, 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 but man, would that ever take forever. So that's not really the point. Oh man, where did I'm trying to remember. I guess I'll look back after. I'm trying to remember where I created all that widening content because I didn't actually want to widen that stuff out. I guess I could undo, edit, undo, create chain, edit, undo, insert device. Okay. And that should be good. Yeah. So, yeah, that's everything for today. Go out, get the BX Solo by Brainworks. It's free. Listen to side content on artists that you really like. And then if you want to mix like them, you're going to have a really good understanding of how your side content should translate. If your side content, when you hit that little S button, sounds way different than theirs, then your overall mix probably will too. So I'm not saying emulate them exactly. I'm not saying to copy them. I'm just saying that if you like their mix, it's probably for a reason. And if you can mix kind of more towards that style, then you're probably going to enjoy your own mixes more. So that's it for today. This is a short one considering the song is like, 7 minutes or something. So we kept it under 20 minutes this week. This is the 6th month edition. I was thinking about taking a pause here. I had a quarter life, midlife crisis. I almost went into real estate. There's all this craziness going on in my life right now, but I'm going to stick with it. I was going to stop after 6 months, maybe take a break, see how I'm doing. Some of the songs, because there is a lot of craziness coming up here for me in the next few months, some of the songs might be a little bit quicker, and what I'm hoping to do is every 3-month mark do a more of a landmark sort of song, but you can expect maybe more piano-based songs. I'm always looking for recommendations, as long as it's not really crazy sampling stuff where I have to worry about clearing the rights. As long as it's not something that's super elaborate, like if you're write a 15-minute Hans Zimmer sort of orchestral thing, that's something I would want to get paid for, and I can't exactly add that in my song a week. Keep in mind that these are almost like little demo songs of what I'm capable of. But this song better represents, I think, a more full project of mine. And I'm glad that you guys took the time to watch this and that you hopefully will take the time to listen to the full song. And if at any point I'm able to get the video ready to go, like if I get the go ahead by Disney and I'm able to put this on YouTube, fantastic. I considered putting it on Vimeo, but again, I don't want any trouble with any legal departments. I'm not into this for the profit or anything. I just really like the cartoon. So check out the original cartoon as well. It's got some pretty cool music. The cartoon itself is fantastic. It's called Destinado, I think. I might be getting that wrong. Apologies if I am. But yeah, if you just type in cartoon, Walt Disney, Salvador Dali, as far as I know, they only did the one. I could be wrong on that, but I'm sure it'll be the first one that pops up if you type it into Google. That's it for today. Thank you very much for watching. I will be back next week doing another song a week. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And do leave me any recommendations or challenges based on what you want to see within the next 6 months of this series. And I will try to get to it as soon as I can. So thank you again for watching, and I will see you next week.